This is Abnormal Entertainment.
Good morrow, noble squires. I am Lord Tony Hughes, along with Lord Cam Hostin.
Pray tell, how fare thee? Now, yonder to talketh of the zebra.
Wow.
Wow, indeed.
I sound more Australian than British there, I think.
Yeah, well, if you're asking me, I wouldn't even be able to tell the difference between Australian and British, but...
I should have maybe went Scottish.
Yeah, and how would that sound?
That's a good question. I'd have to try to sound like Mel Gibson in Braveheart.
Well, outside of the accents, I am indeed Lord Cam Harston.
And I am Lord Tony Hughes, apparently.
Are there other titles that we can call ourselves outside of? Are we both lords? What's another?
There's... Wow, I don't know. You could go into, like... There's... Wow, Lord... There's Duke. You could be a Duke.
Oh, yeah, Duke is up there.
Duke, Lord... I'm thinking of, like, the Tudors. Your Grace. Your Majesty, Your Grace, Your Highness.
Oh, I should have went with Your Grace.
Yeah, I love you. I love Your Grace.
Yeah, that's always good. But to actually get the premiere episode of Talk Zebra started, we should introduce the show first off by saying that this is the premiere episode of a little show that you and I put together that we like to call Talk Zebra. Yes,
indeed. And why don't you give the fans out there, or our many fans out there, because hey, we're Abnormal Entertainment, regulars here, so our fans might know us from, me. I'm Tony. I'm from Unprotected Sports with Tony and the Lion, and obviously you with Raise Your Spirits and other things on the network as well.
Yep. Cam Harston, Raise Your Spirits with Cam and Kevin, going strong for both of our shows going strong for longer than I would have expected, actually. But,
thanks for that.
No, I was speaking of my show when I said that. But yeah, it's good to sit down here with you. We're in remote locations, which is typical for me when I record. But it's good to sit down with you and finally get this pilot episode started. This pilot episode has been kind of a thorn in my side, a good thorn in my side, but it's been a lot of work. A lot more work than I expected, I should say. I expected to have this thing off the ground and up and running maybe a couple of months ago, and we've had hurdles here and hurdles there, but here we are with the premiere episode of Talk Zebra.
We're ready to do it, and I'm excited about it. Little nervous actually recording by myself, as far as not actually having somebody right here next to me. When I do Unprotected Sports, Leo's usually right here. Sometimes we'll have a guest, like when Moyers appears on the show, he'll do it like we're doing it right now. But usually I have someone next to me, so this is new for me. But I think I'm up to the challenge.
Yeah, there was some trepidation on your part, I don't know. We're going to explain some stuff here, as far as our background goes, here in a second. But I know you very well, and I can hear in your voice and actually hear your actual words that you had some trepidation, as far as not being face to face when recording.
Yeah, I mean it's different.
Yeah, that's different for you. And it's equally as different for me being face to face. I get a little bit clammy. I clam up a bit, and I've been recording with Kevin Moyers on Racial Spirits for a fucking month of Sundays. But whenever on the off chance that we are face to face, it's like it always works out fine. But I definitely prefer to be by myself. And so, as far as our differences goes, you and I, there was the first difference right there. Like, how are we going to record this?
That's true. And I mean, I think it's just that you just like to be over there naked by yourself. I think you just want to be by yourself. You don't want any distractions. You just want to be, all out there, free and easy.
That could very well be. Sometimes that is the case.
Wow.
Tonight, as we record, I am not naked. I actually have on a T-shirt, I have on a socks, and I have on boxer briefs. So it may be close to naked, but
that's a lot for you.
Yeah, exactly.
The nudist that you are walking around your apartment.
Well, I'm not the only nudist that's here in our midst right now. as far as walking around the apartment goes, which would definitely lead us into our background. For anybody that, let's treat this as if nobody knows us.
That's true. We should.
Nobody knows us. So, first and foremost, Talk Zebra is a podcast that's hosted by two gay men. I, myself, Cam Harson, is gay. And if I'm not mistaken, you too are gay, right?
You would be correct on this, yes. And also, I can add in that you are black. I am white. So, Talk Zebra, very simple. And this term comes into effect actually when you and I used to be together, and I guess that's the next thing that people that don't know us need to know about. We used to be a couple. We used to be together. We were together for 6 years. And on one occasion at a family picnic, we have this game. And I said I'm white. I'm actually, to be more specific, I am Italian, and I take great pride in that. And so, in one of
I was thinking that. I'm like, is Italian and white the same thing? Because I used to always say white when we were together, and you corrected me.
Well, I mean, it's technically correct, but I think Italian is a little, it's kind of, not to do a huge history lesson on this, but, the southern part of Italy was, kind of colonized by northern African Moorish people back in, centuries ago. And so, our kind of ethnicity is a little bit different. There's a reason that especially southern Italians have more of a dark complexion, maybe big asses, maybe certain other things. But, we won't get into that right now.
I almost went to sleep just that fast. Moving on. So you're white.
Exactly. So, like I said, white, Sicilian, Italian, whatever. Anyway, we're at one of our family picnics, one of my family picnics, and of course you're there. And there's this Italian game called bocce ball.
Which I had never heard of at that point, by the way.
And it's basically like a version of lawn bowling. You throw a little small white ball out there, say, 20 yards away, whatever the case might be. Sometimes it might be closer, sometimes it might be longer. And then you throw these larger balls at it, and you're trying to get it as close to the small white ball as possible, and there's strategy in it, whatever. But anyway, that's basically bocce ball. And so, you'd never played it before, obviously, and, they're like, oh, so you guys are going to be a team together. I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll be Team Zebra, because of the black and the white. I'd always grown up, of course, being the unprotected sports guy that I am the sports guy. And so I'd grown up, whenever there was a black guy fighting a white guy in boxing, it was a zebra match. That's what I called them. So
wait, okay, well, originally, before Team Zebra, which is you and I, originated, back in your childhood when you were growing up, was the zebra match something that you heard somewhere, or that you came up with that on your own?
That's a good question. I really don't remember, because unlike you're unbelievable with this. You have like specific childhood memories when you were like 4 years old and stuff. I am so not like that. I am the complete opposite of that. I don't remember specifics probably from before age 10. It's completely different. And, so I don't know, but I just remember that I thought, oh yeah, that's a zebra match. So maybe I heard it somewhere and it crept into my subconscious. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's how the word Team Zebra first came into our lexicon, I suppose.
Right. It was originally Team Zebra, and when you first said it, I gave a polite chuckle. I would say a polite chuckle, but I'm like, that shit is corny as hell. Like Team Zebra, but then with further, just even, I was going to say with further family functions, but just even during the course of that day, I think maybe we started winning or maybe we started losing, or whenever we were referenced as Team Zebra.
Yep.
And then it just kind of stuck then from that day on into further family functions, and we were always Team Zebra. Just a variation on Team Zebra. Since this is a podcast, we decided to go with Talk Zebra. I thought was the perfect title. We both decided on that, and nothing
sounded better. So we're on Talk Zebra. What the hell?
I liked it. I didn't settle for Talk Zebra. I actually fought for Talk Zebra.
Yeah,
we brainstormed a lot, and I like our title, Talk Zebra.
I do. I like it as well. And who doesn't like a zebra? I mean, it's a black and white horse-looking creature. I mean, come on, who can't love that?
Exactly. Our whenever we take breaks on the show, the sound that you will hear will be the actual sound of a zebra. What do zebras do? Do they whinny, or do they neigh?
Yeah, there's
like horses.
There's a specific word for it, and it's something different than that. I'm not sure what it is, but all I know is that I am looking forward to actually hearing that sound and hearing our first episode, because I think it's going to be pretty funny, actually.
So, but it's not whinny or neigh, but it's something like that. But that's let's explain that right off the back. That's that will be the sound you will hear. That is the official Talk Zebra sound break sound. Whenever we go to break, our logo, which is, in my opinion, the best logo on Abnormal Entertainment Network thus far. Our logo is. Take a look at that. You can find us on Facebook at
Talk Zebra.
I assume Talk Zebra. Yeah.
Yes.
I assume straight up. Our logo is just a crazy looking zebra picture. It's a little bit scary, a little bit funny, a little bit fucking disturbing.
Yeah, when I first looked at it, I'm like, the teeth are right at you. It's kind of in your face. But with all the other graphics up on it, the name of the show and our names and all that, it almost kind of seems like a friendly little zebra, but friendly, but yet in your face. So I like it.
Yep. We have to give a shout out to Kevin Morris for making that work.
We do indeed. Kevin is the, what I always call him, the abnormal entertainment bigwig that he is.
Mm-hmm.
Do they bray? Yeah. Do zebras bray? Maybe that's like a donkey. Is kind of. Could that be what it is? I don't know.
Did I say neigh or bray?
You said neigh.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, maybe it is bray. I think it is bray.
Could be.
Yeah, so you'll hear some zebras braying on this show. Everything is loosely zebra based. That's who we are.
Indeed. So, I mean, are we going to talk about kind of how in depth do you want to get? As far as giving the listeners a background as far as our relationship and how we got together, how we're not together anymore, stuff like that. That's up to you. I don't know.
That is an excellent question. This is the question that, I would say, definitely over at least a month of preparation for this show. This is the question that I specifically didn't talk about with you beforehand, and it never came up on your end. So this is a question that I specifically let slide and wanted to save for the air. That is a good question. How far do we want to get into it? I say we just get into it and
all right.
See where it goes. I can start it off by saying, picture it. You're the Golden Girls.
Wow, you're going Golden Girls on me. I like it.
Picture it. I can't name a city because I was in Los Angeles and you were in. Were you in Los Alamitos at the time?
Yes, that would be correct.
Okay, so it was. And I'm the guy that's good with dates, but I'm trying to think of, as far as when we first linked up and made things official. I believe the year was 2005 or 4.
5, I believe. 2005. Okay. Yes.
Okay, 2005. So at the time that we're recording this, that was 8 years ago. We're about a little over a year out now. So,
yeah, about a year and 5 months or so, something like that.
Right. So from meeting until ending, it was roughly 7 years, or 6 years or some change, whatever it was. We met on a website called gay.com.
Oh, you're going well back. Okay.
Right. That's where we met, right?
Yeah, you're right. You are correct.
Well, I'm not. What do you mean when you say I'm going way back? That's just
No, I guess that is you're correct. That's how I first met you on the computer. You're right. So continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we met on a website called gay.com. Some of those details are sketchy because, one, it was a really long time ago. Two, I'm old. Three, I drink a lot. So we met on gay.com. I think that the original plan was for us to be kind of a one-night stand thing, which is not uncommon on in the gay community in general, let alone on the gay websites. That was kind of the plan.
Well, it was interesting because when I met you, if you recall, I had been with this guy for a couple of years, but it was like off and on, and it was a strange thing because I'm a very headstrong person, and generally, not to brag or anything, but usually I feel like the other person in my relationships has kind of pursued me, but in this case, I totally pursued this guy, and I kind of let him walk all over me, and I kind of felt like I was always walking on eggshells, and I never felt like anything was good enough for him, and so it was really weird. It was out of character for me, and at the time that you're talking about when I met you on gay.com, I wasn't with him at that time. We had broken up. And then I met you. I came over to your place in Compton, which is very interesting because, here I am. I'm the OC guy who's only lived in Cypress and Los Alamitos his whole life, with a small stint in Anaheim. But basically, I've always been right around Cypress. And so he's like, yeah, I'm in Compton. I'm like, So I still go over there. And I mean, I have these certain images in my head. Okay, this guy's asking me to come to Compton. I saw your picture, obviously, on gay.com.
Right. And the picture got you sprung. But that's not, I didn't interrupt you to say that. I want to interrupt just really quick to say that for anybody listening outside of California, I think mostly everybody has heard of Compton, California. But if you haven't, Compton is a notoriously, in my opinion, it's not as dangerous as it used to be, but Compton is a notoriously dangerous kind of urban neighborhood,
yes.
City, community, whatever you want to call it. And the cities that you named coming from Orange County in general is not so much with the danger.
Correct. It's more whitewashed, safer. Although there are certainly large portions of Orange County that are maybe have a lot of Latinos and stuff like that. But where I'm from, in kind of northwest Orange County, it's kind of like an insulated, safe little portion of Orange County. And there's not too many white people in Compton. Not that I mind that, obviously, but anyway. So you saw my picture. Yes, and I
was in Compton.
Yes, and all it is it just shows your face. So I don't have obviously a huge read on your personality at this point or anything like that. I talked to you on the phone briefly, but that was it. So I come over and I immediately see, when I come out of my car, you're kind of outside, and I see this guy. Yeah, first of all, I remember, oh my God, he's tall. Then the next thing I remember is you were wearing those scrubs. The scrubs, the pants that like an ER doctor would wear, right?
Medical scrubs.
Yes. So you're wearing scrubs. I'm like, okay, this is weird. This guy doesn't really look like he's all thugged out or anything. He's wearing scrubs. So, you have me come into the house. And we should mention too, this was your mother's house, correct?
Right, that was my mom's house, the house I grew up in, and at that point, when you and I met, I was staying back there temporarily.
Right.
I was fresh out the Air Force and back at mom's house.
Right. Okay. So you have me come in the house, and the first thing I was like, okay, he's definitely not all thugged out. He's speaking, perfectly, properly. He seems really nice, and not that there can't be a nice thug, I suppose, but you get what I'm saying. And we talked, and I'll just, without getting into too much detail, I'll just say we had a nice night together.
Yep.
And then I wake up, and I stayed over there that night. So, and I remember I wake up,
Which after the fact, now that I know you like the back of my hand and I know you so well, I am highly surprised that you spent the night that night. I mean, at the time, I didn't think nothing of it. Like, okay, and that was a little uncharacteristic of me too. Like, I wouldn't have a random dude come over. I would definitely have a random dude come over, but I wouldn't have him come over and spend the night. But that just goes to show how much I liked you.
Yeah, but, I probably just didn't want to drive home late at night from Compton.
Yeah, see, for me, it was how much I liked you, so you could spend the night. And for you, it was just, I don't feel like driving, so I'm going to crash.
No, I mean, I wouldn't have stayed if I thought you were a dick or whatever. But anyhow, so I wake up the next morning, and this is where it really was weird for me because, I wake up and, you're not in the bed, but I could smell this, like, wonderful aroma coming from the kitchen.
This is your favorite part to tell. This is your favorite part to tell.
And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so I just I walk into the kitchen, and there's Cam cooking up breakfast. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And of course, now everyone who knows you, everyone who doesn't know you, I guess I should say this, Cam loves to cook. He's a great cook. He loves to cook. It genuinely brings him pleasure to feed other people with the fruits of his labor. And so I'm like, Wait, what are you doing? He's like, yeah, I'm making you breakfast. And I'm like, oh my God, this dude is making me breakfast. So that was a first for me. And, I just remember, I remember obviously having breakfast with you, and then I did go home a little bit after that. And then I didn't see you for a little while because later on, shortly after this, I guess, I did end up getting back together for the last time with my previous ex. And then finally when that ended, like for the last time, that's kind of when I met you again online, and that was interesting in and of itself.
Right. After the night we spent, and then after the breakfast, then everything got a little bit. I was gonna say tumultuous, but not really tumultuous because it wasn't. It was a one night thing. I mean, I on my end, I felt like it meant something. That sounds weird. I felt like it meant something, and it was going to be a little. I had a very strong feeling that's. And it turns out I was right in the end, in the long run. But I had a strong feeling that this guy was going to be something more than just a one night, spend the night, and cook breakfast for. Because for the record, I hadn't cooked breakfast for anybody else up until that point. So if I didn't think you were going to, be something more than a one night stand, then you wouldn't have gotten no breakfast. Actually, you wouldn't have even spent the night. First of all,
yeah.
But yeah, I had a strong feeling about that, and I was bummed out for a little bit because I'm like, oh God. Now, when I say bummed out, I'm fast forwarding a little bit to the part where you got back with the Eds.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, fuck, like he's slipping through my fingers now. But like you said, you got back with the Eds, and eventually, I can't even remember time frames, but eventually at a short, it was a fairly short interval of time that you and the ex decided that getting back together wasn't going to be an option, and then I seized my opportunity and I jumped in with both. I jumped head first.
Yeah, and I just remember those early kind of months of us dating. I guess even the first month or two, you were pretty much exactly what I needed at that time because he, like I said, kind of I kind of let him walk all over me, and even though he wasn't a jerk per se, he just kind of like I already talked about, I just kind of never felt like I was important enough to him. Whereas with you, I always you really were went out of your way to make sure that I felt, wanted and things like that. And you were just a really nice guy. And I think especially after what I just went through, I think I really needed that.
Right.
And so, the first couple of months, I mean, we would, one of the things that I like to do is go out and do karaoke, and you even went with me to do that. And I know later on in our relationship, you totally didn't like to do that. So early on you did, because you were trying to put on the full court press on me.
That's funny because that came up at work the other day, the word karaoke. I'm like, oh yeah, I used to go to, no, not the word karaoke. It was karaoke. It was Silver Fox Karaoke, which Silver Fox is the name of a gay bar that you and I used to go to in those first couple of years for you to perform karaoke, not for me, because I don't do karaoke. Cam don't karaoke.
But you could drink.
No matter how drunk he gets. Oh, no, I had fun at the time while I was there. But somebody said something about Silver Fox Karaoke at work, and that it's funny that you just mentioned that, because that whole thing came up, and I'm like, yeah, I used to go to Silver Fox Karaoke every Sunday like clockwork. Did I want to be there all the time? No, but did I?
I know that now.
Yeah, you know that now. But like, shit, Tony's going to karaoke, so I'm going to karaoke.
Yep.
I got to go with my boo.
And I guess kind of continuing on with our little background here. Those first few months, really, we didn't have a chance really to kind of have a very long normal courtship, and I guess this is kind of the next chapter of kind of what ends up defining us really is just a couple of months into us dating is when you started to get sick, and you can I don't know how detailed you want to go with this, but tell our listeners, I guess, who maybe don't know kind of what happened to you.
Right. You and I, we started at whatever point this was, I forget the month right now, but in July, I remember now. We met and kind of got our whirlwind thing going on in April of that year, which was 2005, did we say?
That sounds about right. A couple months before the summer, yep.
Right. And in July, just a few short months later, I got sick, really sick, and I got diagnosed with class 3 congestive heart failure. At this point, we were only dating for 3 months, maybe a little less, maybe 3 months, give or take. Yeah,
but I was spending a lot of time, by this point, actually, you had been back to your place in Watts. So you weren't in Compton anymore, and I was spending the night over there quite a bit, and you were... at a certain point, you couldn't even sleep normally. You had to literally sit up just to sleep because that's how much your chest was bothering you. And
yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
you were, I forgot that you were there for that part. I remember. In other words, we were hardcore dating. It's like even though it had only been 3 months, but we both jumped in and we were hardcore dating. We were with each other all the time, and you were spending the night all the time. But yeah, I had forgotten that you were at my house all the time, and you were seeing my sleep. Even before I got diagnosed, I remember everything after I got diagnosed and how present you were. But I forgot that you were there.
It just makes so much sense now because all the classic symptoms of when a person's going through heart failure. You had to breathe sitting up, and you had the swollen limbs and the breathing problems and all that. And I remember your doctors first thought it was something lung related because you did smoke. And so they gave you even an inhaler, I remember, at one point, like Advair, I think, was it? Something like that?
Yeah, they gave me Advair.
Yep. And so...
goddamn, I can't believe you remember that.
I remember everything.
Yeah, it's true.
So anyway, and at one point, the day that it happened, I totally remember it. You went to the hospital first, and they sent you back because apparently your symptoms had subsided and they couldn't find anything wrong with you. And so then you went back to your place in Watts, and then that's when I was with you, and it happened again. Your legs just doubled in size. It was ridiculous that night, and we were just like, okay, there's something wrong with you they've got to figure this out, and took you back to the hospital, and it was at nighttime. Fairly late too. I think it was after 10 at night or something. It wasn't even early evening. It was late at night.
Right. It was late, like 10, 11 something.
Yep. And then finally, I don't remember exactly how this happened, but somebody had the wherewithal to say, "Oh, we need to give him a test for heart failure because these are the total symptoms." But nobody really thought it was possible because you were 28 years old at the time, and that just doesn't happen to young people. It happens to old people.
I don't even remember that. Did somebody actually say that? Like a nurse or somebody say, give them a test for heart failure?
I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somebody obviously along the lines said, okay, look at what he has. Look at these symptoms. I mean, these are heart failure symptoms, but he's 28 years old. I mean, because they have to do a test for it. I mean,
Right.
they didn't do the test for it on you earlier that day when you were there. So obviously they did it the second time, and it turns out that that's what it was. And so thus began a 2-week stay for you in the hospital. I remember it well because I was there for all 2 weeks.
You were there, to your credit, and I will never forget this. And I will always be in debt and always think of you with love on for this. You, and even at a certain point, they told you. I think in the very beginning, maybe on the first night, they told you like, visitors are not allowed overnight, and you said something to the effect of, well, fucking just try to keep me out or something. What did you say?
Yeah, I was just like, well, look, I'm just going to stay here, and if you want to kick me out, you can kick me out. And,
Right.
and they never did, which was nice of them, I guess. But yeah, I slept there overnight in this reclining chair next to the bed, and surprisingly, I was able to sleep, and because usually I can only sleep in a bed, so.
You were sleeping sitting up like I was before I got diagnosed.
I was.
But yeah, that's on my end. That's one of the times where I'm like, well, this goddamn, it was only 3 months. We were only 3 months in dating. Like I said, it was hardcore dating. And I felt strong feelings for you, but just the fact that when I got sick, that you refused to leave my side, I'm like, oh yeah, this dude's a fucking keeper.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things too, where like you said, we weren't even officially boyfriends at that point, but obviously we were just seeing each other. But we weren't even officially together. And you see somebody that you care about who's really sick, and you kind of, I think at that point you can go one of two ways. You could kind of pull back a little bit and still see him in the hospital, but kind of pull back a little and, okay, how serious is this? Or you can kind of just really dive in and say, okay, he needs me here, and I'm going to show how serious it is. And I chose that avenue, and I think that even to this day, I mean, I think that created a bond in us where, even though we aren't together anymore, I kind of think there's, when you go through something like that, when you see somebody you care about go through something like that, it stays with you. So.
Yep. And as far as that goes, I remember having the actual thought, as to the former. I was having the thought like, him and I are too brand new. Sure, he's at the hospital with me now. This is too much goddamn shit for him to deal with. Like, he doesn't know me. Like, he's known me for 3 months, but he doesn't know me. Like, this is his perfect time to bail out. And I'm thinking, like, he's kind of slowly going to do the side step towards the door. And, I was bracing myself for that. I'm like, and I was going to understand. I was like, that's fine. I don't even know what I would do in that situation. Like, 3 months is fairly brand new. But yeah, just the fact that you stuck around, and not only just stuck around, you were at the hospital every night. Like, I could wake up and just see you sitting there sleeping uncomfortably in the chair. I'm like, oh yeah, he's a keeper then. If he's going to stay here for this, then he's a keeper.
I did leave on occasion to go across the street from the VA hospital in Long Beach to go pick us up some chicken bowls, but that was about it.
Oh, those teriyaki bowls.
Yes.
And your Dairy Queen.
Yeah, which isn't there anymore.
Oh, that's right. The Dairy Queen's not there.
Yeah, that Dairy Queen is not there anymore. But yeah, I mean, it. And another thing I'll say about this, and I think about this too. At a certain point, I remember this happened later, but at a certain point, I remember seeing pictures of you, like when you were in high school, and even just in the Air Force, and you were a really skinny, lanky guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, you used to run track and cross country. Did you run cross country too, or just track?
No, just track.
Okay, just track. And hurdles, right? You did the hurdles, that was your thing. And so you had this tall, lanky kind of body, and that's kind of what I like. So I was like, ooh, okay. And and I remember saying that after the fact, at one point, I remember seeing your Air Force picture. I'm like, oh my God, wow, And when you were in the hospital, because you were sick, you were skinnier than I'd ever seen you.
Right, emaciated, all the weight lost.
But you weren't so skinny to where I didn't think you. I mean, you were skinnier, and I remember thinking to myself, I swear to God, I'm like, oh my God, he looks good in his hospital nightie. I'm like, ooh, he kind of looks hot.
And that was the weirdest thing ever for me. I'm like, when you told me that after the fact, I'm like, what what the? I was emaciated, and you like that.
And you kind of had a fro going, and it kind of like that. So you had all this hair, and,
Yeah,
and
you call it a
skinny.
fro. I call it a. I've been in the hospital for 2 weeks, and I need a haircut bad.
Yeah, that's
Hair.
that's the most hair I ever seen you have. And I was like, yeah, he's he looks pretty good. So maybe that's the reason I stayed. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, when you told me that, that's the fact. I'm like, you're a fucking weirdo. That's weird. I was like on my deathbed, and you were like horny for me.
Well, hey, there's a reason that I'm on Abnormal Entertainment. Nobody's ever called me normal, so there you go.
I guess that's true. All right. So that is the beginning of our saga. I have a suggestion, an on-air suggestion. Production suggestion here.
Okay.
How about we move on and introduce and discuss our segments, and leave our story. We very well covered the beginning.
Yes.
Leave our story for next week, and we can just go through it a little bit week by week until we get to where we are now. But I think it's a good idea to go ahead and introduce the segments.
Okay, I like that. A little podcast tease for future shows. I like it. A
little tease, a little ball tickle.
Little French tickler, okay.
Exactly. Let me see here. We have, I'm looking at my list here. These are all brand new segments to both of us. But I guess it looks like first up, we have our segment that we like to call 5 Dub.
Who, what, where, when, why is what we're learning. Who, what, where, when is why we teach you. Now, the first thing is who.
All right, 5 Dub. 5 Dub is a segment. This will be our TV segment. I just started talking willy-nilly without having my notes up here. Sorry about that. 5 Dub will be our TV segment. The 5 Dub stems from the 5 W's, which are who, what, where, when, and why. We will offer up a weekly show, a show to you weekly. We will tell you who's in it, what the show is about, when does the show take place, where does the show take place, and why should you watch it?
Exactly, and we thought it would be apropos to have a kind of an urban title for this 5 Dub because, hey, we have a black guy on the show, so if you don't like it, you should.
a black guy who's also a gay rapper.
Yes, this is true.
5 Dub and dubs and things of that nature is right up my urban ass alley.
It definitely is. It is. And that's why I like the title of it.
Mm-hmm. Tell our listeners what show we're working with this week.
Well, given that there is only one show that could be the greatest show of all time on television, given that this is a show that you introduced me to, as this show was in season 4, I believe, or maybe season 3 or 4, I forget which one, and that I watched this show on DVD literally one summer and caught up completely. And I became so completely immersed in this that I became just as big a fan of the show as you. And that show can only be Lost.
The great and famous Lost. Can we talk a little bit about how hesitant you were to watch Lost?
Because I was like, we're 3 years in, I'm not going to watch it. And,
For 3 to 4 years,
Yep.
I kept telling you. And we were living together at the time. And I'm watching the show in a separate room. I'm like, dude, you have to watch this show. I don't even understand. I don't know why. Maybe the show started before we were living together because we didn't move it. We didn't start shacking up right away. Maybe the show started before we were living together.
Well, it definitely did, and maybe we can get to that when we do the when part of the 5 Dub, because I do have the details on that. But yes, you are correct.
Okay.
The show started before we were living together.
Okay. So let's go through the 5 W's. I'll have you start off with who. Just the who. Explain to the folks who's in it.
Sure. Well, you have the lead character, Jack Shephard, played by Matthew Fox, who a lot of people, before this he was in Party of 5. It's probably what he was most famous for. But he becomes really famous playing Dr. Jack Shephard on Lost. He is a doctor. And so he kind of ends up as the leader of the group because he's a smart guy who obviously can also kind of handle a lot of the people's injuries and things of that nature, because that was a factor from the very first episode. You have Evangeline Lilly, who plays Kate on the show. She's kind of a beautiful, mysterious kind of person at first. We kind of don't know her backstory, but she's kind of guarded and doesn't really open up too much. Then you have Josh Holloway, who...
Wait, really quick, can I chime in and say, when you call Kate beautiful and mysterious, and it will, as it's well established, neither of us are into chicks, but I find her very, very beautiful. More so her character on Lost. I've seen her in other stuff, and I've seen her in interviews, and I've seen her in live time just as you know, Evangeline Lilly. But Kate Austin, just that character, just like I find her fucking like flawless. It's to her personality added on top of to her, you know, her natural beauty.
That's interesting that you just said that. I was just going to say, I thought it was great casting because Evangeline Lilly isn't one of those women who she smears on a ton of makeup and she's just like kind of a slutty hot. You know, that's just not what she is. But when you put her in, you know, with the background of a tropical island and she doesn't have to have on makeup. And yeah, I think just the natural beauty of her face with the island, I think really went well.
And the fact that, like you said, mysterious, and the cherry on the sundae is she was a badass. So she was goddamn beautiful on that goddamn show.
So she could kick ass also as an action chick. You're absolutely right. And then I was going to say Josh Holloway, who played this character Sawyer on the show. That's a nickname, but that's pretty much what everyone called him. And Josh Holloway, I mean, hey, as most of you know, or if you don't know, I'll tell you, I'm really not into white men. I don't find them attractive, just as a gay man wouldn't find a woman attractive. However, Josh Holloway is without question one of the better looking white dudes that you're ever going to find.
Yep. I always cite that when I talk about whenever it comes up about me and my preferences and you and your preferences, which we'll get into eventually as Talk Zebra goes on. But I always cite that. I'm like, hell, even Tony finds Josh Holloway attractive. So
just ruggedly handsome. He had this charming Southern accent. You know, he could look good even if he had like a 1 week growth and hadn't shaved. Just one of those guys who could kind of get by with not having to do anything. Kind of like me.
Kind of like you. Okay.
I was just trying to get a rise out of you.
Hey, you are together or not together. I will go to the grave saying that you are a good-looking dude. But Josh Holloway, have you seen Josh Holloway with his shirt off? Obviously, you have.
I have.
All right.
Not bad. Actually, it's interesting. I mentioned the fact that he would often be unshaven on Lost. I haven't shaved for about 2 weeks as we're recording right now. So I know you fans can't see me, but yeah, I'm going with the bearded look right now.
Really? I don't know if I've ever seen you without 2 weeks of worth of shaving.
Yeah, a couple of weeks.
Not that long.
It's very scruffy right now, no doubt. And then another person we have to mention, I mean, this show had so many great actors. Terry O'Quinn playing John Locke. John Locke was another kind of mysterious character.
So many great actors, like you said, but I think me and you might both agree. Terry O'Quinn, as far as actors in the show go, Terry O'Quinn might take the goddamn cake.
Absolutely. I mean, he won at least one Emmy that I know of for this role. And I mean, and before this, you know, Terry O'Quinn was probably best known for being the stepfather in those movies. So it's not like he had a lot of critical acclaim before this, and he was, you know, probably around 50 when Lost started, maybe a little bit younger, but something like that. And it was a role of a lifetime for him.
Right. When you say the stepfather, what is people should know on this show. People that listen to my other show might know already, but people should know on this show. And you know this well. You know me like the back of your hand too. I don't know movies and I'm not big into actors.
Right.
And I can never really place people. I've heard of The Stepfather, but what do you mean The Stepfather?
Yeah, The Stepfather was this movie, I want to say in maybe the early to mid 80s, where he essentially plays this guy who, there's a wife and this mother, I guess is a better way to say it. This mother has a young son, and she becomes a widower, and she meets the stepfather, who is Terry O'Quinn in this movie, and he turns out to basically be some psycho. And so and I think there might have been a sequel, and then there were more sequels, but then he didn't play the role, somebody else did, and so that's basically what it was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. When you said that, I don't know. I got a Lindsay Lohan Parent Switch, or is Lindsay Lohan Parent Switch?
Parent Trap.
I got a Parent Trap vibe, but The Stepfather is something more serious.
Yes.
And dramatic or horror.
Yeah, it's kind of exactly. Okay. But I mean, there's so many other people on this show. I mean, you have Michael Emerson, who played this very, very strange character who was introduced in season 2, Benjamin Linus. He's now on
so good.
I know, he's now on a show on CBS called Person of Interest, which is a successful show. I mean, God, so many people. You have
my absolute favorite 2 characters. These 2 in conjunction. They're maybe not my favorite 2 characters alone, but these 2 guys in conjunction. Dominic Monaghan, is that how you say his last name?
Dominic Monaghan,
Dominic Monaghan and what's Hugo's name?
That is,
I was gonna say
Jorge
Hugo
Garcia.
Well, I was going to say Hugo Rivera. Is that his character name?
Hugo, yeah, I don't even remember his
Hugo
last
Reyes.
name. Yeah, Reyes, that's right. That's right.
Dominic Monaghan and Jorge Garcia as Charlie, whatever his name is, and Hugo Reyes.
Charlie Pace.
Yes. And just those 2, individually, I like them both. But together, the friendship that that's actually my favorite part of the show. I've told you personally many times before. Like, it just gets me right in my corazon every time.
Charlie was your guy. He was the kind of a rocker from a rock band, right. and just a quirky guy, but a lovable guy on the show. And he had some drug problems.
Yeah, he had so many troubles. But then again, who in the cast of Lost didn't have troubles? But but more specifically, when Charlie and Hurley hooked up as friends, it's just like fucking that's the part that brings me to tears every time. And I can't, still to this day, as many times as I've seen the show, I can't watch the death of Charlie without shedding more than a few tears.
It's a huge dramatic moment in the show when he dies.
Jesus
no
Christ.
Question about it. Hugo is a very, if we could put it gently, he's a rather large Hispanic dude who we find out later is very rich because he won the lottery, and he has this weird association with some numbers on the island, and that's the next thing we need to get into here is what is this show about? And I mean, the easiest explanation is that people say, oh well, it's a show about some airplane crash survivors who end up being stranded on this mysterious island, but the show is just,
which is a very
so much more.
That's a very rudimentary explanation of what the show is about, because it goes so much deeper. This is the most complicated, but at the same time, especially with me, I'm a person who watched it 7 times in full. Most recently, a couple months ago, I watched it for the 7th time, the series from beginning to end.
Wow.
So I have that in my back pocket, but even on the first go round, it's easy to understand. There are very complicated factions and portions to the show. You do have to pay attention to it, but it can get a little tricky.
It definitely does. I mean, there's so many elements that are a part of the show. You have warring factions against each other. You have secret government agencies, possibly. You have time travel. You have you have enemies and friends and love and loss, and there's so much going into this show and
flashbacks that have nothing to do with the island.
Yeah, that's true.
You get everybody's backstory, and it's just Oh, it's just brilliant.
That's true. The first couple of years of the show, you see flashbacks in each episode where they're showing parts of the characters' lives off the island. And then later on in the show, you get flash forwards, which I don't believe that was ever done on a show before, where you actually see stuff that happens to these people after what's taking place in the present, which is that's a very different way to storytell, and yet it still works. And
it's ingenious. There's some other shows that have adopted that theory now. They don't do it as well as Lost did, but I think they were the first.
Definitely, and this was a show where it was almost shot like a movie every week because the budgeting was actually pretty high because they had the best directors, the best writers, obviously the scenery. They shot the show in Hawaii, so you have all this lush scenery and it's just beautiful imagery and great acting and writing, and it was just unbelievable.
The score, let's not forget the score.
Yes.
Like, Jesus Christ, that music is like, fuck, I feel like watching Lost again right now.
Absolutely. You should play before this segment goes off the air or something, maybe you should play a little bit of Lost music. But in any case, when does this show take place? Well, we talked about this as far as when you started watching the show. Was it before we got together? And yes, it was, because this show began in the year 2004. The show took place in 2004. That's when present time on the island was. That's when the show first premiered on ABC, and so we got together the next year. So the show actually started before we even got together at all. And so we moved in 08? So yeah, so the show was in like its fourth season when I started watching it, I believe.
Right. And as far as when does the show take place on the actual show, that's tricky itself.
It is
in and of itself, because you mentioned time travel a few couple minutes ago, and it doesn't start off that way, but it eventually leads to a lot of time travel. So the show takes place in present day 2004.
Right.
You said?
Yep.
The show takes place in 1977. The show takes place in 2007. The show is a little bit all over the place. So as far as the story arc and everything for the actual show, the win is a little bit all over the place for this one.
That is absolutely correct. So you got 04, but also, there's different moments in time where the show also takes place on the island. So that's a very, very unique part of it. And then also the where is kind of similar because,
another question mark.
It is another question mark because, when they first crash land on the island, it's a flight that's taking place where all the characters that are on this plane are supposed to be traveling from Australia back to Los Angeles. So the plane crash lands. It's supposed to be somewhere in the South Pacific. That's where they think they are. And it turns out that it might not be that simple.
Right.
Because what we find out, and you could certainly expound upon this too, but we find out that there are times when the island is moving around.
Right. Don't want to get into too much detail on that. And plus, it's just, for anybody who hasn't seen it, just a cursory explanation that will be a little bit without all the background and without watching a couple of seasons beforehand. It will be a little bit difficult to explain, but the island, like you said, has mystic magical powers or entities or whatever you want to call it, and it's a very mystical place, and the island is able to actually move in time
and space,
in space, in physical location, and it's just
you're getting a Lost Woody right now, aren't you?
I'm really, really thinking about watching it again, and I just rewatched it like 2 months ago. so I'm not gonna do that at this point, but it's such a great show. But
as far as the why, folks. Why should you watch Lost? If you're not already intrigued, you should be. This is a show which has a big budget again, so you're getting the best directing, the best writing, the best acting that you're going to see on TV. The musical score, as you said, but I mean, you have drama, action, mysticism, science fiction elements, romance. There's love triangles going on. You have warring factions going against each other. Right. I mean, there's so much mystery going on with this show. It's unbelievable, the mixture that they're able to achieve with this show.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. There's like you said, there's the love stories. There's the fucking, we got bloody gore for the the hardcore action fans and the thrill seekers, and there's don't even get me started on mystery.
Right. I mean, that's what I was going to say. You got J.J. Abrams, associated with the show,
Abrams
so there's going to be some science fiction elements going on.
A fucking genius. I am in love with J.J. Abrams. And not just Lost is my number one favorite show of all times, of all genres, of all my 36 years of being on this earth. But some of my other favorite shows are also J.J. Abrams shows. I'm not going to name them right now for the sake of this first pilot episode. But J.J. Abrams is a genius, and Lost covers it all.
You're right. I mean, it's just... You're making me want to watch it again now. You seriously are. You're making me want to get the DVDs from you and watch this show again, because I've only gone through it once. And the final episode, I've got to tell you this too, because my Lost experience, as I said, I caught up on the first 3 seasons in season 4, and then I watched it from there, and then I believe there were 3 more seasons to the show. I think it went 6 seasons, so then season 4, season 5, season 6, and I mean, I became heavily invested in the show, and I did things that even you didn't do because you didn't really care for it. But like, I would go on the Lost blogs. There were Lost discussion blogs where people could explain their theories on it, what exactly was going on. Because every episode, generally in Lost, every episode leaves you thinking, what the fuck just happened? As opposed to answering questions, it just raised more and more questions. And I think that was the genius of the show. It was unreal. How are they going to get out of this? And every episode, they didn't answer questions. They just raised more. It was incredible. And
you got hardcore into the blog sites, into the fan forums.
Yep.
And I wanted no part of that. I just wanted to watch the show. And I have no beef with that. I made fun of you like as much as I possibly could.
Yes, you did.
I didn't want any part of that. I just wanted to watch the show, and I wanted everything to be unveiled naturally. I didn't want to hear anybody else's opinions. I wanted to keep it all to myself, and quote unquote, figure it out on my own. And I just wanted to go at my own pace. One
thing I did have in common with you, though, and this is actually funny because pretty much everybody else I know is not like this, but I'm totally like this, and so are you, is that when an episode ends and they generally show you previews for the next week's show, I never wanted to see that ever. I don't want to see what's going to happen next week because I don't trust what they're going to show me. I feel like it's going to reveal too much, and I kind of just want to reveal it to me on my own time when it's on next week in its entirety. And every show is like, it could be a comedy show, it could be a drama, whatever it is on TV. They always show episodes from next week, and usually people totally watch that. I never watch that.
Never. Why would you do that?
I agree.
That's like a huge spoiler alert. It's a huge ruiner, and it's becoming more like pervasive. It's more prevalent, and it's like, I don't understand. Like, why are you fucking giving everything away? It's weird.
Yep, I am in complete agreement with you on that. And all I'll say before we close this out here is that by the time Lost gets to its final episode, which is just 2 hours of just absolutely brilliant, riveting television, how it all comes together and the way that they just choose to conclude the show. I'm not going to give anything away, but I will tell you this. Probably one of the 4 or 5 hardest times I've ever cried in my life was watching this. I was so into this show, and I just couldn't believe it was over, and I was like emotionally spent. I really was, and I was just, and for that kind of a show to inspire that kind of emotion, and someone like me, because I'll tell you, I'm not a crier. I know a lot of people are. I happen to not be a crier. I've cried a few times in my life at some hard moments and things like that, but I'm not one of those people who just sees something emotional on TV and I get teary-eyed. I'm not one of those people. It takes a lot to move me. And I was just absolutely Niagara Falls on this last episode.
Yeah, same here. I'm not that much of a crier. I think I'm more of a crier than you are, but I'm still not that much of a crier. But that being said, of course, the Lost. I think you talk to anybody who watched the Lost finale, who kept up with the series from beginning to end. there's no way you're not going to cry at the end of that goddamn series finale.
Yeah, if you don't, I mean, you're really stoic, seriously. Because, put it this way, if you watch the show through, you're going to get involved with these characters. You're going to feel an emotional attachment with at least some of them, I can guarantee you. Because it doesn't matter what kind of a person you are, there's different characters on the show, and some of them are going to appeal to you. Some of them you're gonna draw some type of similar life experience where it's going to make you, it's going to move you. And so at the end, if you watch the show all the way through and you don't, I mean, there's going to be moments before the series finale where you're very emotional, but you know, like you said with the death of Charlie, which I guess, you know, okay, we're just telling you Charlie dies, but
right.
But
and at that point, actually, truth be told, I cried harder at that than I did at the series finale, but I still cried my ass off at the series finale.
The finale was what got it for me, but there's just amazing moments of this show where it inspires so many different emotions, and sometimes you're going to be upset at what happened, sometimes you're going to be happy, sometimes it's just, I've never seen a show like this, and that's why it is the greatest show in the history of television.
Yeah, I couldn't concur further. Lost, watch it. Check it out. Definitely the greatest show in the history of television, like you just said. That being said, I think we should go back to our little homegirl, whatever her name is, our little homegirl with the outro for this 5-dub, our very first inaugural 5-dub segment.
Take us out.
Why?
Because
Why?
Because I said so.
Fine. The end.
All right, we are back on the show, and just as we just did a first segment of 5-Dub, it is time for an inaugural segment on Talk Zebra. This is Music or Lose It.
Catch your vote now. Music or lose it. Cam or Tony? Who are you choosing? Music or lose it. Cam or Tony? Who are you choosing?
Okay, it is time for Music or Lose It, and Cam, this is a segment that I actually am very, very excited about. Every week on the show, we are going to have you and I face off in a little competition because, let's face it, you and I have differing music tastes. Sometimes we have similar tastes, but generally speaking, we're going to be very differing as far as what we like. And so each week, I'm going to play a song for whatever reason that I want to play, that I think is a great song, that I think should win this competition. You're going to play one, and then we're going to have an arbitrary person decide the winner each week. Obviously, the following week, that'll happen. And there's benefits to you, the listeners, because generally each week, we're going to have just an arbitrary person decide this thing, and so you can get free publicity out of it.
Stop. Well, I guess you can go. For some reason, arbitrary person sounds like a diss to me, but, you know, I get the meaning of words confused. Like, we're going to have an arbitrary person.
What? What's wrong with that?
Arbitrary. I don't know. It's nothing that you said wrong. Arbitrary person sounds fucking impersonal.
Well,
we're going to have
it's supposed to be an impartial person.
An impartial. See, that sounds much better. We're going to have one of our beloved impartial listeners.
Well, what do you think an arbitrator does? Like, an arbitrator rules on matters. They don't care. They're not
We're
biased.
going to have an arbitrary person. I don't know. It just sounds disconnected.
Well, if it...
And I don't like it.
Well, if you'd rather use... What's the word that you'd rather use? I already forgot it.
An impartial observer.
Okay, yes. An impartial listener.
An impartial beloved
winner.
listener.
Yes, and you can get free publicity. Say you have a podcast, you have a band, you have a business you want to promote, whatever it is, we will give you... Or
even if you just want to force us to say silly shit. If you don't have a business or anything like that, if you're just sitting in the cubicle and you want to take a guess at who won the Music or Lose It segment, and assuming we choose you, if you just want to make us say silly shit, we will say it.
Okay, and for this first one, it is going to be Kevin Moyers, correct? Who's going to decide our first winner.
Yep, it's going to be Kevin Moyers. Obviously, no one has heard this show. You guys are listening to it right now, but no one has heard the show up to this point. So we're going to go with our good old standby, Mr. Kevin Moyers.
Yes, and I don't know what you've chosen this week. You don't know what I've chosen, and so this is going to be interesting. I'm very interested to hear kind of maybe how divergent our two songs are. Maybe they'll be similar, I don't know. But if you're ready, why don't you take it away with what you're going to play?
I am indeed ready. First of all, I should mention, our intro segment that you guys just heard right now is an original. Well, first of all, that's my little silly ass stupid voice on the on the intro segment. But the music and the track is an original beat by my producer. I only have one producer that I've been with since 1991. Him and I have been BFFs and close friends for what is that now? Help me with the math.
22 years.
For 22 years now. But yeah, that's my best friend, my producer, Mr. Lou Love. He has a birth given name, but his name is Lou Love.
I was gonna say that sounds too made up there. So okay.
Lewis. Let's go with Lewis. But Lou Love. That's my producer. You could probably expect to hear more from him. And him and I both on this show and various shows, but that's neither here nor there. But I had to give him a shout out. He is the official producer to this music segment.
That's cool, and maybe he should. Maybe I should get together with him, and he should produce some tracks for me. It's going to be adult contemporary style singing as opposed to rapping. But hey, who knows what? Who knows? He's mostly an R&B and hip hop guy, but who knows what he has in his back pocket? If you want to get him, maybe he can produce something Michael Bolton-ish.
I wouldn't go that far, but hey, I do. Actually, though, you folks are going to hear this eventually. I will be picking some adult contemporary songs from certain artists that will be very different from what Cam generally likes. And so I'm going to be counting on you listeners out there. Hey, there is some good soft rock out there, and don't act like there isn't.
And it's funny, this segment can go anywhere because, if we can have Elton John on your side stacked up against Tyler, the Creator, on my side. So it can be crazy shit.
Indeed. So with that being said, Cam, your first one ever. Let's see if this is a good one. What do you have for us on Music or Lose It for the first week?
My very first selection is, I'm not even going to bullshit around the bush. I'm not going to give too much backstory. I'm going to tell you. The name of the artist is Tom York. The name of the album is The Eraser. The song name is Harrow Downhill. Released 2006, Grammy nominated. I'm going to play it now.
You will be disturbed. me slipping in and out of consciousness. I feel me slipping in and out of consciousness. I feel me.
Yes, indeed. That was Tom York. Tom York, first of all, one of my most favorite artists. And I say one of my most favorite artists because Tom York is only topped by the entire group that he fronts, which is the world famous Radiohead.
Yes, I was going to say you should tell people what he's in because some people might not know.
Oh. Love him or hate him. It seems like Radiohead, people have either a love or hate, but there's not really much in between with Radiohead. I personally live for Radiohead, and Tom York is a very, very close second to the actual whole band, Radiohead. That is one of my favorite songs, and from our time together, one of our favorite songs, Hair Downhill, from his solo album, The Eraser. Like I said before, Grammy-nominated, 2006 release. My favorite, I love the We Think the Same thing at the same time. I can't sing as good as you. I can't sing as good as you. And I also love Did I Fall or Was I Pushed? I don't know why I like that line, Did I Fall or Was I Pushed? But I don't know, it just, that's like, I don't know.
You know, you've broken out the big guns for this week because, you know that I also love Radiohead and Tom York.
You love Tom York much more, his solo project much more than you love Radiohead.
That is true. I found more of the songs on The Eraser to be a little bit better than a lot of what Radiohead did as a group. Not that I didn't like Radiohead, but it's a great album, The Eraser. This is a good song. So this is going to be tough for me to win, but I also am breaking out the big guns for my first song. And, you know, are you ready to hear what I've got to say, or do you have a little bit more on Tom York?
I'm done with Tom York. I'm just on the edge of my seat waiting to hear what you got for me.
Okay, fair enough. Well, this is a band that was formed in the late 1970s. 1977, they had a hit. Oh. They had a hit by 1978, and that's the hit that I'm about to play you. They were only together for a few years, but they left an indelible mark on the music industry at large, and very similar to what you just had with Tom York fronting a band. This is a guy who went on to a very successful solo career. He's world famous. It's Sting. The group is The Police, and the song is Roxanne.
Oh!
I know my mind is made up.
So that song is short and sweet, and it's a classic. It's memorable. Roxanne, and I mean, look, this is such a. I love the Police. It's such a great group, and you just have so much to remember here because Sting's voice, Sting's vocals, I think are unmistakable. You know, there's certain singers where you know who it is, and Sting certainly has a voice like that. And especially this song, this was their first hit from 1978, and he kind of sings the song very high, and it's an unmistakable sound. So you have Sting's vocals, and then you also have the fact that the Police really had a unique sound. I mean, it's a rock band, but they kind of sound like they could be a punk rock band. There's some elements of reggae in there. There's some elements of jazz in a lot of their songs, and
right.
It's just they're so memorable. And even though they were only they'd broken up by 1984, but I mean, think of the great songs with the Police had. Message in a Bottle, Don't Stand So Close to Me, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic. Of course, their big hit, Every Breath You Take, which is a huge, huge hit.
Wait a minute. Don't Stand So Close to Me with Sting? I love that song.
That's the Police.
Oh, the Police?
The
Yeah,
Police.
I love that song.
And then also Wrapped Around Your Finger is another hit that they have. They have so many hits in such a short amount of time. And just to illustrate how successful they were, they've sold over 50 million records worldwide, even though they were only together for 6 years and probably only produced 3 or 4 albums at the most. And so, and then Sting obviously went to have a very, very successful solo career. He's world famous. And so, that's...
And become a douchebag.
Did he? I don't really know too much about that. But I don't care about that because I'm just trying to win this competition right now. I believe I have with my choice.
Yeah.
Roxanne, what a song. She goes, just the first 10 seconds of the song when the music starts, it's unmistakable, it's memorable, it's classic, and then Sting just bellows, Roxanne, and it's just, it's unbelievable.
Right.
Tom York is a good choice, but I might have you beat here.
Tom York is a great choice, and this is the reason why I think you might have me beat. Because we have a predestinated judge for this first week, Mr. Kevin Moyers, with his bald ass. And first of all, Kevin Moyers loves to hate me and hate on me, just in general. And I'm pretty sure, with that being said, that he will absolutely vote for you. Even if it's just out of spite, he'll probably just end up voting for you.
I really don't care why he does. I just want to win.
You've always been a fierce competitor, and I can't fault you for that. But I'm already calling it. I'm not exactly what would you call it?
You're not optimistic about this vote this week?
No. I was going to say I'm not putting it out in the universe that I feel like for sure that I'm going to lose. But at the same time, I'm not exactly pessimistic, but I'm kind of being realistic. He's not going to like Tom York.
Well, you might be going with reverse psychology. I don't know. Maybe he'll surprise you. But it is going to be up to Kevin Moyers for next week. But we do want to know what you, the listeners out there, have to say. Do you prefer Tom York or do you prefer the Police? That's going to do it for this first segment of Man of the Hour. We hope you enjoyed it. And we'll be back with some more show in just a second, folks. And it is now time for Man of the Hour here on Talk Zebra.
I think this is going to be one of my favorite segments.
Well, we'll see if that happens when I introduce my first Man of the Hour. We'll see what you think about it. But this is a segment where Cam and I are going to basically present to you a guy each week where we basically want to jump their bones, or we think they're sexy and we think that there's something that makes them stand out, and we'll kind of tell you why, and that's about it.
Perfectly described.
Thank you.
It's not always sexy, and it's not always just all about the face or the body, but it's an attraction level,
right.
which our listeners will come to find out because I'm into some very what can be sometimes considered odd-looking dudes.
I was going to say awkward, so odd is good. Awkward, odd. I mean, look at me. So hey, once upon a time, So anyway,
you're not odd-looking.
Well, okay, maybe I'm not odd-looking. I was at one time though when I was a teenager. Oh my God!
Oh, you were, and you have. I still have some of the pictures to prove it here in my residence that we once shared. But you definitely have the pictures to prove that you were once very much awkward-looking.
Hey, just because I had a mullet in high school, what's wrong with that? But I
You
digress.
You had a mullet way past the mullet's expiration date. But yes, you do digress. Let's go.
Okay, so I'm going to actually really surprise you here with my first man of the hour, because this is a person that I know you're familiar with. You're very familiar with this person, and I even think I've told you before that I don't find this person to be particularly great looking. But some stuff has happened in the last couple of years, and especially this year, where this person has kind of like what you described, his attraction. For some reason, I find myself more attracted to him, and maybe I find him more sexy lately. This is surprising, but maybe it won't be surprising to you because it is an athlete. I'm going to say that my first man of the hour is none other than Kobe Bean Bryant.
Fucking knew as soon as you said, as soon as you preface it with, you weren't particularly attracted to him at first. This is how well I know you. You weren't particularly attracted at first. And that he was an athlete, I knew it was going to be Mr. Kobe Bryant.
Wow.
Why? Okay, well, do tell. What turned the corner for you?
Okay, well, here's how I feel about him. Okay, he's not like, I don't look at Kobe and think, oh my God, he's just fine. You know, he's just not one of those guys. And not that he's a bad-looking guy. I mean, he's not like Patrick Ewing or anything. But, you know, you just look at his face. He had a nice face maybe, but you don't think, oh my God, he's just fine. But in the last couple of years, as I think his career has kind of been, you know, coming closer to an end, he's been way more honest with his dealings with the media, with how he's feeling at the time. He's not afraid to call the media on their like if it's a bullshit question, he'll say, "What do you ask me? That's a bullshit question." But he'll be completely honest about what he feels about his coach, what he feels about his teammates. He's just his honesty's been very refreshing. So that kind of made me open up to him a little bit more. But this year, what he's been doing basically, and now of course his year is over, even though the Lakers are in the playoffs. For those of you who don't follow sports, he tore his Achilles tendon. He will not play for the rest of this season and might not play at the start of next season. And
I'm one of those people who don't follow sports, but even given the fact that I don't follow sports, everybody knows that Kobe Bean Bryant has torn his tendon, has
Achilles tendon.
Everybody knows Kobe has a leg owie.
Yes, you know the Achilles tendon. It's what attaches your ankle to the bottom of your foot.
Yeah, and it gives me the heebie-jeebies whenever I see that body part get hurt.
Yes, not a good injury to have, especially when you are someone who depends so much on running. But anyway, this year, you know, Kobe's always been a guy who, his willingness to play through pain and play through injuries, it's kind of legendary among sports fans. I mean, Kobe's had busted fingers, you know, hurt elbow ligaments, bad knees. I mean, he's had all kinds of things, and for the most part, he's always been able to play through it. But then this year, you know, everybody knows who's a Laker fan. The Lakers are really struggling to make the playoffs this year, and Kobe's 34 years old. This is his 17th season in the league. Remember, he came into the league when he was 17, started when he was 18.
Wow.
So, I mean, he's literally been in the NBA half his life. So the Lakers are just struggling just to make the playoffs this year. Kobe's 34, and for the last 10 or so games of the year, he played every single minute. He did not come out. I think maybe he came out for a total of 5 minutes over his last few games. It's just absolutely astonishing what he was willing to put his body through just to get a mediocre team into the playoffs.
All right, this is getting very unprotected sports right now. But what you're basically saying is his tenacity or his veracity or anything else that ends in a T is what generally drew you to want him in your boudoir.
Ooh, I like that. I like that description. Yes,
I would like that.
I would definitely take him in my boudoir. That is true. But yeah, basically just his willingness to just be to put himself out there for his teammates, to tough it out, to give everything he possibly had. I find that to be very sexy. You know, one last thing about his injury. Do you know that he ruptured his Achilles tendon? This is the game against Golden State. He ruptures his Achilles tendon, and he still shot the 2 free throws because he was fouled on the play. He still shot the 2 free throws after he ruptured his Achilles, and he made both free throws, and then he literally had to be helped into the locker room. I mean, this guy is just as tough as nails. I think it's sexy. I think he'd be a hardcore dude in bed, which I kind of like that. And so, one final thing about him, you know, he's called the Black Mamba, right?
Yes, that I know.
Well, why do you think he's called the Black Mamba?
I don't know. Do tell.
He is called the Black Mamba because he has a huge black dick.
According to you.
No, this is when he was a young player. You know, Shaq was on the Lakers at one point. Shaq gave him that nickname because, you know, they take showers in the locker room. The guy was huge. He called him the Black Mamba. He wasn't a great player at this point. He was just in the league 1 or 2 years. But that's why they call him the Black Mamba. It's absolutely true.
So even with that knowledge being known, well, he's given himself the moniker the Black Mamba recently, right?
No, well, he's been known as that for a long time now. Like I said, that it was a term given to him by his teammates when he was very young.
All right, so I don't, as well as I know you, I would have thought that years ago, according to you, when he was deemed the Black Mamba, then that would have made you risen an eyebrow.
Well, I mean, and it's also kind of, you know, it's kind of innuendo among you know, those who kind of know him, I guess, that he's known for having a big schlong. He just is. In his rape case, that kind of, I think, came out in some of the proceedings where the girl was bragging to other people. This is one of the ways he knew that it was total bullshit, but as far as her accusing him. But she was bragging to people, oh my God, he's just enormous. It's like a snake. I went, the Mamba, hello. So, that's why he's called the Black Mamba, and I wouldn't mind that, you know, because, hey, you know, there's nothing wrong with this tall, skinny, lanky black dude, which Kobe is, a basketball player's body, with a huge dick hanging in front of me. It wouldn't bother me.
Hey, well, I just thought of something. Although I'm completely uninterested, because Kevin Moyers is my brother, but that's kind of like Kevin Moyers, my cohort, my partner in crime with this Abnormal Entertainment Network, along with mostly the four of us who are the big dogs on the network, quote-unquote big dogs, Jeff Doniak, David Hayes, Kevin Moyers, and I. It is a complete running joke/truth that Kevin Moyers is the Kobe Bryant of the four of us.
Really?
I'm the fucking black guy, but yeah, apparently he's the White Mamba.
Wow.
Yeah, that's like a known fact, and it gives us great pleasure to talk about it because he absolutely hates. He's very John Hamm in his response to he hates the attention on his White Mamba. Wow.
See, I've got to tell you that stuff like that really wouldn't bother me.
That's what I said. We discussed it recently on a prior episode of Raise Your Spirits with Cam and Kevin. But yeah, that's what I said. All dick attention. All good dick attention is good for me, but he absolutely hates it. He doesn't want anybody talking about his dick, so that makes us talk about it just that much, a little bit more.
Well, it kind of goes with my persona, you know what I mean? I identify with being Italian. Italians are very well known for being not only very romantic men and very sexy men, but having nice penises, and so I certainly, hey, I'll perpetuate that stereotype all I have to. If you ask me, I'll tell anybody. I've never had a black boyfriend that's been bigger than me. I'll perpetuate that shit all day. So hey.
Well, listen, this is our pilot episode, but maybe somewhere down the line, I can either confirm or deny that about you.
Yeah, you have to save that for the fans.
We'll save that for sweeps.
Okay, fair enough. And let's get to who's your guy here on the first ever Man of the Hour for you.
My choice for Man of the Hour, which I would need for probably a little bit longer than an hour. I recently started watching a brand new show called a Netflix original series called House of Cards.
Oh yeah, I've seen the advertisements for that. That's Kevin Spacey. Right?
First of all, it's so good. Yeah, Kevin Spacey has the starring role in the show.
Okay.
A prominent supporting actor on the show is a guy named Corey Stoll.
Corey Stoll,
and he plays the role of someone named Peter Russo in the Netflix original series House of Cards. And
sounds like he could be Italian.
Probably so, Peter Russo. No, Corey Stoll is his real name.
No, I know that. I'm saying his character, though.
Right. As soon as I saw him hit the screen, I believe it's in the pilot episode, I'm like, I don't give a shit what happens in this show. I don't know if I like it or not, but this dude right here is enough to keep me watching the show. Turns out the show is an excellent goddamn show. It's one of my favorite new shows, but that's not what this segment is about. This segment is about Corey Stoll and how much man lust I have over him.
I'm looking at pictures of him, Cam. I just pulled him up, and it's interesting. He's kind of like a balding kind of guy, either with a shaved head or very close cropped hair, some facial hair. I'm seeing some pictures of him clean shaven. He's definitely, a white dude with the typical white guy complexion, but I can see that he has some smoldering good looks. Not that I'm into white dudes at all, but
right.
But he's a good looking dude.
And you should also be able to see how that. Well, you know better than anybody what my general type is for white guys, because of course for Latinos it's a whole different flavor, but for white guys you know, and you are my general type, and you're a white guy with a bald head and smoldering, sexy looks. So, of course, that fits right in. Corey Stoll is completely in my wheelhouse, and I have finished House of Cards season 1. I'm looking forward to season 2. Just if not for anything, for Corey Stoll.
Though, there's one picture on here that I see. Though I've got to be honest with you. There's a picture of him that I'm seeing in his Google images where he kind of has his head isn't quite shaven, so you could see a little fuzz on the sides and kind of nothing really on the top, so he's kind of balding, and he kind of has a light beard going. Yeah. Kind of reminds me of Moyers a little bit.
Please tell me you're talking about a different Moyers.
I'm just saying, the light
Kevin
beard,
Moyers?
the white thing, hey. Just got to call it like I see it.
All right, well, there goes my crush on Corey Stoll. That will end that immediately.
I don't want to ruin your fantasies.
You threw my goddamn brother into the comparison, so now that's over.
Well, I'm not meaning to be a dream crusher on the show.
I will never be able to self-pleasure myself to Corey Stoll. I haven't done it yet, but I guess I never will now.
Yeah, something tells me you'll still be able to.
No, I'm going to have Kevin Moyers in my head. Thanks a lot.
He just needs to have his first nude scene on House of Cards, and you'll be right back at it.
I did see some ass crack.
Really?
Yep.
Yes, well, that's more than I've ever seen on Kobe.
That's much more than, and I'm not complaining, that's much more than I've ever seen on Kevin Moyers, too, so.
Yeah, I've seen, of course, shirtless pictures of Kobe, but never been able to see the Black Mamba in all its glory, so,
He's too big. He's not going to do anything. He's not going to Jamie Foxx it up.
Hey, I wouldn't put it past anybody right now. In today's, all it takes is Kobe just cheats on his wife again with one white chick, and who gets, her feelings hurt, and who knows what can happen. You never know. Although Kobe seems like a smart enough guy where he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't be dumb enough to send a chick a nude text or email or something. He just doesn't seem like he'd be that kind of a person. But he definitely is the type of person who likes to cheat on his wife with white booty.
Yes, that's very true. And the thing about the texting and the nude pics, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to. No matter how active he is outside of his marriage, if he is or whether he's not, he doesn't have to send anybody any pictures of anything. He's huge enough where he can say, hey, I want you, come over here, be discreet, let's go.
True. Very true.
I don't think he'll get caught up in that trap. But let's end this segment.
Let's do it. And we will be back to wrap up our first ever episode here on Talk Zebra in a moment. Don't go anywhere. Well, Cam, we have come to just about the conclusion of our first ever episode here of Talk Zebra. This is going to be a journey that I think is going to be quite interesting for you and I. We've given the listeners a little bit of background on kind of what our story is, and we've left a little bit more of it to tell still, so we've got that upcoming.
There's so much more to tell.
Yes. And, it was great reminiscing about Lost. We just gave you our Men of the Hour. Hopefully I didn't ruin that one too much for you. Obviously, the great battle between Tom York and the police that will be decided by Kevin Moyers. And we want your fan involvement here on this one.
Definitely. We always encourage you to write to us. Like we said, we're going to go with the very first episode since nobody has listened yet. We're going to go with Kevin Moyers for the very first judging role.
Yes.
Of the music segment.
And then going forward, it's just going to be somebody at random who can, who maybe can, you can suck up to them more and maybe try to get their votes.
Right. I am not below or beneath trying to suck up to get votes. We encourage any and every listener to write into us. Our email address, once again, a reminder, is talkzebrapodcast@gmail.com. Write us with any question, comment, concern, anything, or definitely write us with your vote on who should and who will win the Music or Lose It segment.
Which will be me this week.
I'm pretty sure it will be. I will go ahead and concede to that.
I hope so. One thing I should mention to you here before we get off the air here today, we are our show's about to premiere on Tuesday, but the lead singer of the Divinyls, Chrissy Amphlett. Some of you might know the Divinyls by name, but not be able to place what hit they had. They sang the mega hit in the early 90s, I Touch Myself.
Oh, that's who that is.
Yes. She had very powerful lead vocals as a female, so a lot of people are saying now, now that some obituaries are coming in on her, they're saying that she kind of paved the way for a lot of those kind of rocker chicks in the 90s to come forward. Although, I mean, look, there was Joan Jett in the 80s, but, when someone dies, they're going to always say the nicest things possible.
Of course.
But she did have a good voice, and actually that's one of the songs I can say that I've never sung on karaoke before, but I think I could actually pull that song off because her voice was raspy enough where it's not too high for me to sing. Usually I prefer to sing male songs because my voice is distinctly a male voice. I'm not one of those gay dudes, if you're wondering out there, who can sing really high like a Broadway dude. I'm not like that. But
you're my favorite is you're a Billy Ocean guy.
I am a Billy Ocean guy on the old school R&B tip.
I used to love that.
I am Billy Ocean, James Ingram. Gotta love James. Come on. Luther. Gotta love some old school Luther.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, she did die today. Chrissy Amphlett at the age of 53. Unfortunately, she was suffering from breast cancer and the effects of multiple sclerosis. So she, tough way to go out.
Breast cancer?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to be the first one to log the very first tasteless joke in, since this is breaking news, but I suppose that she didn't touch herself enough.
Wow, well, I was going to say she was touching herself, but she didn't get any type of vaginal cancer, so,
What she should have been doing is touching her breasts.
So you think she was neglecting them and that's what led to this? Wow.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Wow.
Lumps exist. She should have spent a little time on the upper areas instead of downstairs. But hey, wow. I'm sure that joke will be recycled. I'm calling it first here.
I am shocked and appalled at you, sir.
And you had a little giggle. I heard it.
Oh, my goodness.
When I think about you, I touch my breasts is what the song should have said.
Well, when the song was big, people were doing all kinds of play on word things, saying different words to it, and, I touch whatever, and that was half the fun of it at karaoke.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, she will be missed, I guess.
She will be missed. Hey, it's a karaoke classic.
All right.
So, another thing I wanted to mention to all you before we get out of here is go see the movie 42, folks. It involves American history. It involves sports, which is right up my alley. It involves the Dodgers, which is really right up my alley. It's the story about Jackie Robinson, what he went through to break the color barrier. And hardly any young people know about what he went through now. It's actually really sad. And look, you have the star power of Harrison Ford is in this movie, playing the Dodgers general manager who signs him, Branch Rickey. So go see this movie. It also stars a fine young actor playing Jackie Robinson. This guy, you'll know this, Cam. Remember that show on NBC, Persons Unknown, where a bunch of people are just dropped into some random place and they don't know where they are?
Yeah, I remember that. We used to watch that.
Well, Chadwick Boseman, who is the black dude who's kind of like the army guy or the military guy who doesn't know where he is, one of the people, he plays Jackie Robinson.
Okay, I know that guy.
Also is the same guy who has, for those of you sci-fi fans, he guest starred on an episode of Fringe as well.
Did he really?
He did. He played a guy. Oh, I don't exactly remember the guy that he played, but he was kind of a guy who was involved with someone that they were trying to help with his memories or something like that. So anyway, he's a good young actor. It's a great subject matter for this movie, and it is getting good reviews as well, so you should go see it.
All right, so 42. I personally should go see that since I'm, black and stuff.
All black people should go see this movie. Exactly.
We should boycott Tyler Perry and go see other black movies like 42 that are important.
Ugh, don't get me started on Tyler Perry, that closeted queen.
Oh, you know what? Many times we disagree, and most times I don't want to hear it from you. But yes, I agree. Tyler Perry is definitely closeted.
He is, along with a ton of other celebrities that you don't care about, but that I totally do care about because I love gossip. You don't. That's another reason that we contrast, but hey.
I hate gossip, and we will leave it at that for this week. Is that okay with you? Did I completely cut you off and shut you down?
No, that's
before you got on the Tyler Perry rampage?
That's okay. You should probably shut me down before I really start to say things that make him sue me.
So, with that being said, I will say that this is Cam Hartson saying always bet on black.
And I am Tony Hughes saying if you're white, always get with black.
Solid advice.
And I say good day, sir.
We say good day. I feel weird about the greeting. I'm like, is this a good idea or is this fucking corny?
I don't know.
Head to abnormalentertainment.com for all of our podcasts and blogs. Go to cinemaheadcheese.com for our movie reviews and news. Don't forget our YouTube channels, Abnormal Podcast and Cinema Head Cheese. Get us on Twitter, @AbnormalPodcast. And find all of our shows and Abnormal Entertainment on Facebook. New content 7 days a week from Abnormal Entertainment.
You've been listening to the Abnormal Entertainment Network.